We started with sophisticated tax planning due diligence, except we're doing due diligence on a lot of other things. But the area that really sets us apart is sophisticated tax planning. CPAs are supposed to do that work, right? But they are spread so thin, they don't have the time, they don't have the resources.
This is Henry Washington, and you're listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast.
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash the like and subscribe buttons. If you're listening to our podcast, go leave us a 5-star review. All of our links can be found in the video description or show notes below.
Hey, welcome back to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Cavagioni, and today's guest is Alex Sonkin. So, Alex, super excited to have you on the show, especially with what we're going to be talking about. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to start this off the same way I start every podcast episode. And me and the audience want to know more about you. So if you could tell us a little bit about your story, tell us who you are. Who is Alex Sonkin?
Interesting question. Lots of ways to answer it. I'll try it this way. Graduated University of Michigan Business School back in 1994, became an options trader and was a member of the Chicago Board of Trade, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Chicago Board of Options Exchange, worked for this French bank called Société Générale, SocGen, and learned how to do arbitrage, where we were buying options on one exchange at one price and ideally selling the same or similar options at another exchange across the street at the same time at a higher price to create arbitrage strategies. And along the way, I realized that tax attorneys were creating arbitrage, riskless profit with tax planning. And many things happened between then and now, but moved from Chicago to California, came up with an idea. My wife now runs this company called Go Macro. They sell macro bars based on a diet that cured cancer for my aunt, my mother-in-law. My wife was a school teacher at the time I came up with the idea. And it was the last time she listened to me. It was about 20 years ago, was starting this company with her mom. It's now the leading protein and energy bar company out there. But when we moved to California, we started setting up family offices, started working really closely with CPA firms, law firms, and realized that there was a huge disconnect between what CPAs' biggest clients needed and wanted and what the CPAs wanted to deliver to them and what the CPAs actually had access to. We realized that CPAs were spread really thin, just trying to produce tax returns, financial statements. The tax code's constantly changing, constantly moving. They really don't have time to do proactive tax planning. They don't have time. They don't have the resources to do the due diligence on sophisticated tax planning strategies. We realized that only 18% of Fortune 500 companies are zeroing out their tax returns, which is a crazy number because 82%.
What was that percentage?
18%.
Wow.
Which is a crazy number. But the other crazy number is that 82% of the most profitable companies in the world, these Fortune 500 companies who can hire the very best, finest CPA firms, finest law firms in the world, they don't know how to do what these 18% do every single year. And so what we realized is lots of companies and lots of family offices know how to make a lot of wealth, but less than 1 out of 5 really know how to keep that wealth. So we realized that tax planning, sophisticated tax planning, was this unicorn. And what we decided to do was start putting on these events, advanced tax planning institutes. And when we would invite all these CPA firms and specialty firms and tax attorneys and resources to the room to present, a lot of the magic happened in the hallways where these attorneys and CPAs would start talking and having conversations. What if we did this? What if we did this? How does this work? How's the IRS look at that? And we realized that these CPAs were really thirsting for this knowledge and thirsting for these interactions. And we decided to create this facility called the Due Diligence Project, called the Virtual Family Office Hub, where we would invite and have our membership, or really all of our CPAs who are from all around the country, introduce us to their favorite resources. And then we would introduce those resources to the rest of the community, and then have, instead of having one or two CPAs comment on it, we would eventually have, when we do a summit, a couple of weeks ago, we just did a due diligence project summit. We had 685 independent CPA firms participate. In 2020, we had 847 firms participate. So a lot of these firms are former KPMG, Deloitte, PwC tax partners. When we have that many independent eyeballs on a strategy, looking at a resource, asking a lot of questions, getting those questions hopefully answered, we really can go very deep and very wide in terms of the number of tax strategies that we rip apart, put back together, and ultimately understand where's the weakest part of this strategy, where's the IRS going to attack it, why are CPA firms either comfortable or uncomfortable defending that. And ultimately, what we've been building is an ongoing living hierarchy of strategies and resources ranked and rated based on their ROI, net of cost, net of risk. And we just never stop doing this kind of activity because we realize this is the most valuable thing that CPA firms have access to, because they can learn a new strategy in 10 times less time than it would take them to do a normal strategy, because we're sharing the notes with them. Then they're going to want to do their independent peer due diligence, but we give them the notes, all the Q&A that have been compiled over the last 10, 15 years on the strategy. That saves them a lot of time when they go into the tax code, start asking questions of peers in our community, maybe some other tax attorneys in our community or outside our community. But now they're able to complete their due diligence in 1/10 the time with 10 times more confidence. And that's really what we're doing, is we're doing independent peer review with the largest independent peer review community of tax-focused CPAs, meaning we really don't care what financial advisors or estate planning attorneys or people, unless they have at least 10,000 hours of experience in audit in tax court, their feedback on a tax strategy or the questions they ask are just far less meaningful than CPAs that have to sign the tax returns, that are dealing in audits, dealing in tax court, and really understand what the IRS is looking at and how they look at tax strategies. And that's what we've really built. We built this due diligence project for the CPA community.
Yeah, no, Alex, that's awesome, because you're providing a lot of value to other CPAs out there, but also you're providing access to something that not a lot of people generally have access to. So if you could just explain a little bit what a family office is and who would normally have access to a family office.
Yeah, family offices, for many years, no one really knew what the family office was, because it was really designed for families worth maybe $1 billion, $250 million. They would spend $1 million a year, at least $250,000 a year, hiring a team of people, maybe their CPA, an attorney, advisors, or many more people to work in an office that just basically handles the family's finances. So the idea of a family office is, instead of the business owner or patriarch or matriarch of the family making 7 phone calls and getting 7 different answers to a problem, and they're more confused, further away from the answer than when they made that first phone call, which is what's happening right now, is most people are running their own pseudo family office, even though they're not trained, it's not organized, it's really a mess. So they hire a family office. So they build one, and they hire W-2 employees to work inside their family office. And now they can make one phone call. The family office handles that phone call like a team, and they design a solution, handle the problem, and we're on our way. The challenge with that is, what type of people want to work W-2 for a family and just handle their finances? Meaning, does the best tax attorney on the planet want to work as a W-2 employee for a family worth $500 million? Maybe not. I would say probably not. I would say the top tax attorney in their specialty wants to run their own shop and live wherever they want to live. And with technology, we can find them anywhere and plug them into any virtual family office. And that's where we started this idea of, instead of static single family offices or multifamily offices, We took this multi-family office idea and said, we really want to make this a virtual family office model. But instead of a financial advisor or a money manager leading that family office, because does someone who created 250 million or $1 billion worth of wealth need an advisor to help them create more wealth? Maybe not.
Probably not. Not if they got there on their own, right?
Exactly. Now, if it was passed down, if it was, inheritance, then all of a sudden you're dealing with people that maybe need a lot of help. But let's just say it's that patriarch or matriarch who created that wealth. That person mostly needs someone to help them keep that wealth, which is who? Which is this technician, which is probably a CPA that they trust, that's an expert in tax mitigation, tax planning. But in our model, it's like we're building Wall Street, we're building investment banking infrastructure. But in our model, it's called a family office underneath the CPA. And then all those resources, including money management, financial advisory, estate, all those things are kind of more commodities in our family office environment, where the most elaborate part of that planning is the income tax, estate tax planning that really flows into every other part of planning for that client's estate and asset management and asset protection and all those different efficiencies.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I appreciate your explanation too, because one of the things that I really like about this show is we'll bring on people that are talking about some pretty complex stuff. And I want to make sure that everyone in my audience, like if this is their first episode, it's not something that would turn them off, right? So if they're listening right now, this is their first episode, they're like, oh, family office and people with millions, maybe even $1 billion. Oh my goodness, this is not for me. The way you explain it makes it easier for people to digest. So I definitely appreciate that. Now, when it comes to having a virtual family office, so you have this hub now that you built, who all now has access to this? Because typically with the family office, the standard is usually $100 million net worth, right? You might have a shared family office with a $25 million net worth, but who has access to this virtual family office?
We built this for the CPA community. We built this for the tax planning community primarily. Our membership in the Due Diligence Project, I would say, is 99% CPA firms.
And actually, real quick, why is that important?
Because we really need them. We started with sophisticated tax planning due diligence, except we're doing due diligence on a lot of other things. But the area that really sets us apart is sophisticated tax planning. CPAs are supposed to do that work, right? But they are spread so thin. They don't have the time. They don't have the resources, but they're the ones who sign the tax returns. They're the ones who have experience in audit and tax court. And really, tax planning should go through them. And what we're doing is really building teams, right? You win championships with teams. You can't win championships where everyone's out for their own self-interest. And the traditional financial services model, which is built on Wall Street, what are they doing over there? Goldman Sachs is not interested in showing their best clients what Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan is doing. They're just going to say, hey, we're Goldman Sachs, we're the best. We have a back room full of products and services and M&A stuff. You can buy Goldman Sachs stuff and feel like you're getting the best products out there. But the current world doesn't want that. What do we want? We want open source. Hey, what is Morgan Stanley doing? What's JP Morgan? What's everyone doing? Let's find the very best products, services, and let's have best-in-class peer reviewed. The financial service industry is not interested in best-in-class peer review. They just want people to do business with them. So we're really the first open source model to create this open source peer review, kind of like Amazon came in and said, look, we're going to house every book title in the world on Amazon.com because Barnes and Noble cannot fit every book in a store, and we're going to win. And then the thing that made them really successful was we're going to share the feedback from everyone who's read these books and go 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, and we're going to show you, hey, this book got 4.9 stars and has 5,000 reviews. What does that do? It allows the guy who's got the Amazon app in his hand to do due diligence in 10 seconds, as opposed to driving to Barnes and Noble, talking to the people at Barnes and Noble. Have you ever read this book? Same thing with movies. We've done the same thing with sophisticated tax planning, except we needed to make this open source peer review. and we're the Amazon in the middle. And our membership is the tax geeks, right? And so I'm a tax geek right in there with everyone else. We love this stuff. We go deep, we go wide, we figure out what's going on. That's the client base. And on the other side are all the best tax attorneys, all the best specialists, all these specialists. And these people can only be elite maybe in one or two strategies. They can't be elite. They're like specialized doctors and surgeons. A surgeon who knows how to take apart a brain surgeon is probably not the world's best foot surgeon. So people going to their doctor, they expect to be, if it's really complicated, they're going to be referred to a specialist. In a CPA world, we expect CPAs to know everything. We expect attorneys to know everything. The tax code is just so big and constantly changing. It really takes a team. And in our world, it takes the very, very best players in their positions to build the best in class peer review team. And the only way we know how to do it is to do it virtually, because these specialists are all over the world, and to have these tax focused CPAs do the vetting. Because who should we trust? Should we trust financial advisors? I trust CPAs. They're not salesy. They're not there to make as much money as possible. They're there to help their client get a big thank you. For some reason, these are technicians, engineering brain. We just trust them. And so in our model, we want them to be the superstar. And then we're going to educate them and give them access to all this knowledge and have them recommend whatever they feel like is very best for their best clients. So our clients are the CPA firms. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because when it comes to, and this is a problem that I hear a lot of people in the real estate space talking about, is trying to find the right CPA, trying to find the right person that can specialize in real estate, or like specifically maybe like multifamily real estate, right? So like you said, when you're looking at like doctors and things like that, was a great example. Like you have these different specialists, right? Same thing like lawyers, right? Not every lawyer can go be a criminal defense lawyer or environmental specialist lawyer or a real estate lawyer, right? There's different specializations that people focus on, right?
Mm.
What you've created here looks like a hub, and actually it's called a hub, right? It's a hub where all of these professionals that are the best in their specialty can come impart their knowledge, right, to other people that are looking for those answers. And like you said, you're cutting down that time that they're spending on this. It takes them now a tenth of the time to find the information that they need to find, because the right people are feeding that information into this hub, right? So I think that's one of the most important things to look at here. Especially because my listeners, most of them are real estate investors, right? So they're like, okay, I need to figure out a good tax strategy, because you have this 18% of these Fortune 500 companies that zero out their tax returns. I feel like I'm part of this 82% that I'm still paying. I need to figure this out.
What's funny, Mike, is if let's just say we showed one of your biggest clients a tax strategy, guess what they would do? Like your biggest real estate investor listener, right? What would they do with that? They would have no idea what the heck it is. Am I going to go to jail? Is this legal? Is it not legal? What is that? No clue. What are they going to do? They're going to do exactly what we're doing. They're going to start showing this strategy to CPAs and attorneys. How many are they going to show it to before they're done? I don't know. Are they going to show it to thousands of them? No. They're going to show it to one or two or three. And what are they really doing? They're recreating the due diligence project. We've shown our stuff to thousands of independent CPA firms, law firms over the last 15 years we've been doing this. So anyone and everyone, the way they do due diligence is really the same way we're doing it. It's just we've just created this very large community, just like Bezos, right? Anyone could do the same thing that Bezos did. Hey, read these books. Give me 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. I'm going to organize the information, share it with everyone else. Bezos did it first.
Right.
And he did it biggest and best. And then he had the delivery. So it's not rocket science. It's just no one else wants to play that game. They want to play that I'm going to protect my client from information game.
Yeah. And you already have the structure in place, right? So if you have a real estate investor and they're going to 1,000 CPAs, guess what? I mean, they're paying for that time regardless for most of the time. So, you're trying to get all these opinions.
They could go to 1,000 CPAs, and those 1,000 CPAs, unless they're plugged into the Due Diligence Project, their virtual family office hub, they're just those average CPAs that are servicing clients that are getting very average results. And when I look at a tax return, it's either a Picasso or a 2-year-old made it and we just put it up on the refrigerator with a magnet on there. Which one?
That was probably my last tax return because I did it myself. So
I've never done my own tax return in my life. I would never do my own tax return because I'm going to have the best CPA in the country do the tax return and let them handle it, because I just believe that we're really good at a couple things. I want to just do the thing. Like if your real estate investors are really good at real estate investing, let them focus on that.
yeah, I love that you said that because I got audited last year. That was not fun. It turned out they owed me money when it was all said and done because I guess there was some deductions that I didn't claim, and that worked out. And I never thought that they would audit me and say, "Oh, we actually owe you money. You paid too much. Here's a check for some of this back." And I'm like, "Huh, okay." Yeah, I thought it was going to be the opposite.
A lot of people are very successful in different businesses. They make millions of dollars and then they want to become real estate developers or real estate investors, and they fail miserably because they realize, guess what? It takes experience to make money in any field. And you can't just jump into a field and just be amazing at it. Look, if you're good enough to be making money at something, make more money there. Find the very best A+ players and surround yourself with A and A+ players. And that's really the idea of a family office. Is you're really good at this thing, keep doing that thing, keep stacking paper, and then surround yourself with the smartest, best-in-class peer-reviewed resources and pay them fees. Think of it as an investment where you're getting massive ROI. And if you're not getting ROI, just fire those people. That's really how to do it. Don't try to do everything yourself.
No, I love that. I love that reality check too, because that is something that I've found recently myself, that I tried dipping my hands into a couple other things and I found myself failing pretty miserably at them. So I had one business that I started pretty recently. It's been nothing but a money pit for me. I've just been sinking all this money into it for marketing, all this other stuff. And I just can't figure out the right strategy to make it work. So I am actually looking at walking away from that and sticking back to the things that I'm good at. Because I'm like, okay, I'm wasting time and money.
Yeah, as you get older, when you hit your 50s, I just turned whatever. I'm in my early 50s now.
Oh, you look younger than me, man. I just turned 39 last week. Jeez.
When you hit 50, it's like for some reason it takes a while. And when you hit your 40s, those are like the money-making years, in my opinion.
Oh, good. I got a year
left. People making money until their 40s. That's like free money. You've already made a bunch of money that you probably shouldn't have made. Once you hit your 40s, you've learned some things. You learn what not to do. In your 20s and 30s, you try everything. You go there, you're like, wait a minute. I can't be the best in everything. And you don't want to be the best in everything, but you got to learn that lesson.
Yep.
And I've learned that lesson myself. But then you realize, just don't do a lot of other things. Focus on really what you're good at and then outsource everything else. And you're going to be happy and you're going to be successful.
Yeah, no, awesome. Appreciate that. So now when it comes, let's get back on track here, right? With what we were talking about. So with the family offices, right? Obviously what you've built is pretty big, right? You have thousands of experts now involved in this project. You have these get-togethers at what was it? The summit that you were telling me about, right? The last one had 600 plus, the one before that had 800 plus.
Due Diligence Project Summit, right? The DDP.
Yeah, so you're bringing all the right people in, and I've got to think that this is shaping a little bit of what the future might look like. So this is like a twofold question, but what is like the future, or in your vision, the future CPA firm look like, as well as what the family office of the future is going to look like?
Yeah, the CPA firm of the future, the virtual family office of the future, they're happening right now. COVID has accelerated this process. All these CPA firms did not renew their leases, their $20 million leases in New York City. Everyone's working from home. The world's become virtual very quickly, taking advantage of technology. And it's really this technological revolution, the efficiency of meeting like we're meeting right now virtually, so efficient, right? And so the idea here is a CPA can meet with how many clients sitting in front of their computer screen a day versus in-person meetings, all those different things, and ultimately bring in the very, very best resources from around the world to deliver value to those clients. Those clients appreciate that. Those clients now get to sit at home, connect with their CPA, give them their wish list of here's what I want, here's my perfect world, build me my perfect world. And that CPA goes, plugs in the due diligence project, says, here's my client situation. They've got this kind of income. They're selling this appreciated asset. They have these goals. This is what they really want to look like in 5 years. How do we get them there? And then we bring in the specialists and the resources to first design the income tax and estate tax plan, and then potentially introduce them to other family offices that they can co-invest with, so they can actually start doing some interesting, not stock market investments, but maybe real estate development or real estate investments that other families are involved in.
Yeah,
Getting alternative investments that maybe they're more interested in, that they can't get through Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan or traditional advisory services. The idea of building a custom designed virtual family office with these Lego pieces, meaning every client will have a different setup. Every client setup is going to be based on their goals and needs and wants and size of their income and estate. So some people are going to want this full service. Hey, take care of write all my checks for me, pay all my bills for me. I just want to play tennis. I want to just give back to my church. I don't want to deal with anything. Other people are going to be more active. Hey, I really like to review these deals, and I just want you to I just want to build this real estate portfolio, make my real estate portfolio efficient with my goals, with income tax mitigation, all these different things where I have other ways mitigating taxes besides 1031 depreciation and cost segregation. What else is there? Is there a way I can get a big pile of cash, do whatever I want with it? Yes, there is. Many ways.
That's awesome. So what you're saying is because of COVID accelerated things, but we're already living in what that future looks like. It's just getting it's becoming a lot more real now, right? It's all actually coming to fruition. Now, did you start working on this project pre-COVID?
Oh yeah, we've been doing this for 15 years. We were virtual before. The trend to virtual was around before COVID. It's just COVID
Right.
said you have to be virtual or you're going out of business. We were virtual because we just thought it was more efficient. It's very difficult to get 50 CPA firms, 100 CPAs to fly out to a location to do an event, just because their free time is so crazy. They don't have a lot of free time between all their deadlines, and they have families and they want to take vacations and they want to do all these different things. And it's very expensive to travel and put on these live events. So in our world, starting to do these virtual events, that's when it started. And we realized we could actually do everything virtually. And then COVID made it that everyone just wanted to do everything virtually.
Yeah, it became mandatory at one point, right? So that took you guys and skyrocketed you very quickly, because hey, we've already established this. So now that everyone's being forced to do this, at least in my eyes, looking at what you've built, especially if it's over the last 15 years, when COVID happened, it was probably like, boom, you guys exploded because you already had the processes in place.
It was boom. It was a scary time. And we just decided, hey, when everyone's scared, that's when you go big. And that's why we had 847 firms participate in our summit. We went big.
That's awesome.
The CPA firms needed a place to go. They needed a resource hub, and we became that hub for them. And most of these firms, they're part of a lot of different associations. They joined a bunch of different groups because it's not expensive to join a bunch of these groups. Some of these groups charge 6 figures a year, and the value they provide is a joke. It's really just, they really provide just a name. We're associated with association, but it's just a bunch of CPA firms paying a lot of money to be associated, and there's nothing that's happening there. Nothing. It's crazy. They join our group, they're like, wow. And they're learning all these new strategies. They're asking millions of questions, completing their due diligence, bringing these ideas to their biggest clients. We have billionaires going, oh my God, this is amazing. If I refer some of my other friends to you, can I get a referral commission? I'm going, does KPMG have billionaire clients going, hey, I'm going to refer my friends to you. Will you pay me a referral commission? And I don't think they are, because I don't think they're doing anything that unique that would get a client to be that excited to refer anyone over there. We're doing stuff that's exciting, but it involves, unless the CPA does the work, nothing's going to happen. We
Right.
aren't just we're not like the big bird that's eating the food and chewing it up for them and putting it in the little baby bird's mouth all chewed up. We do 75%, 80% of the work for them, but they still have to do the last leg of the journey of due diligence on their own to get their own confidence level up, to really and some of this stuff is so, Mike, have you ever read the tax code?
Personally, pieces of it, not the whole
Just
thing.
Google any part of the tax code and just start reading. And you're going, you got to be,
No, thank you.
you got to be, are you kidding me? This is really this is how our system works based on.
And it's so full of legalese.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's an like if you were the king of the universe and you said, hey, scribe, go bring me a tax code, and they came back to you with this monster, you'd be like, off with his head. You're like, this is insane. This is not designed to work nicely. And so people are complaining that why are some billionaires not paying taxes and other billionaires paying taxes? It's because the tax code's so complex that the army, now we go to battle, not with people armed with clubs and arrows, and we go to battle with tax attorneys and CPAs who understand the tax code. And if you either surrender because you don't have that army, or you build the best army in the world that's really focused on going deep and wide in terms of due diligence, and you go, you know what, we got it. Let's go.
Yeah, no, Alex, that's a great point too. Especially when you point out, how some billionaires pay zero in taxes and others pay more. And the thing is, it's because they have the right people on their team, right? They have the right people doing their taxes. I remember, what was it, 2 years ago, there was like this big thing because Trump paid $745 in taxes and everyone's all up in arms about this. And I'm like, you could be mad or hate the man for other things. Don't hate him for his real estate game, because he did it the right way. And that's why
I don't know what people are complaining about.
Taxes.
He filed
you can do it too.
It's a legal document. Okay. If there's a problem with it, they can audit him and change what's in there. So this is something it's not like he just paid that money and said, hey, good luck.
This is all I'm paying. Bye.
And he documented it. So the point is, when people are doing this, it's showing you that the tax code is designed to maneuver through it just like that, or not. But don't be crying about it. Don't be complaining that you're
because you can do it too.
Everyone can do it.
Even the average Joe, right? If you're at a point in life, and even if you're a blue collar worker, white collar worker, whatever, and you're making a specific amount of money and you hit certain tax brackets and this is what you have to pay, depending on how you do your taxes. If you have real estate, there's certain things you can deduct. You can get past that standard deduction and deduct more if you have enough resources for that. And you can get your tax burden down to zero effectively. And that's one of the things too. I was able to claim a $47,000 loss on my real estate this past year. And that's not even a lot compared to what other people claim. There's so many different ways. And this was me doing it on my own. I'm sure if I had a CPA doing it for me, it would have been a lot better. And I probably wouldn't have paid any taxes this year, but I still wound up paying some taxes. But that's okay. It's not okay because, again, I did it myself, but I do need to find a good CPA. So if there's any good CPAs out there listening and you want to help me out, hit me up. But yeah, so that's the thing. Anybody can do this if you have the right person on your team that knows the tax code, that knows how to maneuver through it, like you said, Alex, right? Because that's the biggest thing, right? You can know the tax code front to back, but if you don't know how to maneuver through it, through specific areas of it, it's not going to help you at all.
And we have programs for clients who have $250,000, $300,000 adjusted gross income, net income, up to $1 million. There's a lot of things clients can do there. Once clients go above $1 million, there's all sorts of other strategies that become available based on their cost, the initial price point and costs and things, and jumping through certain number of hoops. So, anyone who's got $250,000 of income, net income or more that they're paying taxes on after expensing can take advantage of what we're doing. Have your CPA plug in the Due Diligence Project, info@duediligenceproject.com. Join the community, have access to all sorts of strategies, and they'll bring it to your listeners, and your listeners can pick and choose which one is right for them.
Yeah, Absolutely. And that's the thing that's great about it. And that's the other thing that's awesome about it being virtual, right? It opens up accessibility to
Yeah.
so many more people where it wouldn't be there before. Now, I just want to ask you too about this, like for a CPA, because there are definitely CPAs that listen to the show as well. For a CPA that wants to get involved in the due diligence project and the virtual family office hub, is what does that process look like for someone that wants to like join or become a part of that
Yeah.
community?
We have a big presence on LinkedIn, and they visit duediligenceproject.com. They see us on LinkedIn. They connect with us. We want to meet with them. We want to make sure they're the right CPA for us, that they have the right goals, that what they're trying to accomplish with their own practice is a good fit for us. We meet with them. We have a quick conversation. If it's a good fit, we explain what we do based on their feedback, based on the kind of client base they have and their goals. It's either a match or it's not. If it's a match, they join, and then they have access to live events that we do every month. Sometimes we do 2 live events a month. Everything is recorded. We do at least 1 or 2 summits a year. They can watch the recorded summits. They can connect with other members, other CPAs. They can connect with the specialists, the best tax attorneys in various specialties. They can offer their clients family offices. They can reduce their clients' health insurance costs by 20 to 50%. So there's a lot of cost reduction. There's a lot of tax mitigation. And then that's really where we focus on is cost and tax. And then there's other opportunities, investment opportunities that we look at those more as secondary opportunities.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, great. So Alex, what I would like to do now is transition this into something that I call the final round. It's where I'm going to ask you the same 4 questions I ask everybody that comes on this show, and it'll help give us a good idea of how you are when you're under pressure, and which I think I know you're going to do really awesome at this. So if you're ready to go, we'll get that party started.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, Alex. So the first question of the final round is, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in business?
Wow. I look at mistakes are part of I've made a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. Every mistake I've made has led to doors closing and doors opening. And all those mistakes really allowed me to be where I'm at. And there's certain regrets that I've had. I've made some investments with people, and I know a lot of people have had this, where money was just straight up stolen from me. And investment due diligence, I was trying to do real estate development project, and I had people, when you have a very focused, goal-oriented business owner trying to do a really elaborate project, we're just ripe for being taken advantage of, because we're all in, right? We're all in. We want to do this. We want to do this. We have big goals. And I'm in my 20s. So a lot of people stole a lot of money from me who I trusted. And you beat yourself up over it. But as long as you handle it properly and handle it the right way moving forward, and if there's money taken or investment money, it's all taken care of and return and things like that. I'm very proud of that. Obviously, it's embarrassing making an investment with someone who's ultimately a criminal. And it ultimately led me to where I'm at today. It led me to create the Due Diligence Project, to eliminate risk, to eliminate due diligence risk, not trusting myself completely with the due diligence on various things, realizing there's just information I'm not going to get access to. People are showing you the tip of the iceberg. So I think learning, at the end of the day, we're human beings and we want to trust other people. And those of you listening who've been scammed, don't beat yourself up. Everyone who's a very successful business owner that I know has been scammed at least once, maybe twice, maybe 5 times. Just because to be a successful business owner, you have to fail and you have to try a lot of different things. And part of it is just running into these people that are out there it's unbelievable. Anyway, that's my biggest regret, getting scammed.
Yeah, no, I see. And that's part of the good and the bad, right? When we talk about the pros and the cons of everything becoming more virtual now too, you start to see a lot more of that, a lot more of the scams, because you don't have to put a face on anything. So
With this AI stuff is super scary.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
almost like you really, due diligence has become so critical.
That's what I was
And
just going to say. Like that, it makes due diligence that much more important because of the environment that we're in right now.
a lot of the due diligence it comes from gut feel. So it's like utilizing these experienced CPAs who have seen a lot, and in utilizing resources that have gone into battle with the IRS and have gone to the tax court and have had failures and have had successes, but had those experiences. It's like what we're seeing now is we're seeing a lot of young people becoming life coaches, business coaches. And I'm like, you have no experience. You're just too young. How are you coaching people when you have to do it yourself? Carry the bag, make those mistakes, get scammed, get burned, go out there, learn something, and then come back and then be a coach. Start out being a coach. You're leading people down paths you've never even experienced yourself. There's something this experience. We were taught to respect our elders, but it's their experience that really is invaluable.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate that. Okay, Alex, the next question, this kind of ties into the first one, is what is something that you've learned that you wish you knew when you first started?
The value of relationships, how important relationships are, how important college friends relationships. It's tricky, right? You get married, your spouse will want all of your time, all those, and you have to make some difficult choices, right? Obviously, investing in relationships, and especially a lot of my college friend relationships, I wish I would have invested more in those relationships back then and over time, because everything's, you either invest in it or you don't invest in it. And if you stop investing in it, it falls apart. It's anything else. And so investing in relationships, especially the ones that you consider special, I was so goal driven. I was just so driven to be successful in college. Everything was about I needed to get to these goals, achieve these marks. But I think when you're young, to have someone say, listen, what you should do is have these balanced goals, right? Where part of your goal is to have these vibrant friendships and relationships. Part of your goal is to give back to what's important to you, maybe your faith, to your community, and have good health and all these other things. So just having this balanced focus, because I think a lot of times people in my generation were just so focused on creating wealth that was really it. And they thought, hey, if I create wealth, all these other things, I'm going to get the girl, I'm going to have the front, all those other things. The good news is I did invest in my relationship with my wife, and I've been married for, I think, 24 years. So that's worked out so far pretty well. But I wish I made bigger investments in other relationships.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the transparency there too, because and I wrote that down too, realizing the value of relationships, because no matter what you do, even in business, having the right relationship is important. Networking is one of the things that I preach about the most. But one of the things, so I did a presentation last month at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. I was one of the speakers. And one of the things that I said that it just came out, but I added it to my presentation now, but it's you can go from zero to hero just from having the right conversation, which is why relationships are so important.
Yeah, it's critical. And one of the other things I'd say is college is a really interesting for those people that have the benefit of going to university, and those relationships are so magical and you take them for granted.
Yeah.
Because from there, it's a fresh start for everyone. Everyone's a freshman at the same time. You're building these amazing relationships. There's really no conflicts. It's just these incredible relationships. And then you take it for granted thinking, oh, as I leave college, I'm going to build all these relationships down the road just like that. It doesn't happen that way, because the real world is not like this college bubble. And so what I would say is the college bubble is a really fertile place.
Yeah, no, I
And
feel the same way too, but about the military, because like I joined the military straight out of high school, and it was the same thing, like those formative years, right? That going from a teenager into your 20s, the relationships that you build with your peers during that time frame. And there's some people that I was on my first ship with that I still stay in touch with. They're amazing people. There's others I wish I would have stayed in better contact with. Like you said, it's about building that relationship, and it's super important to keep that, because
we're talking about all aspects of life, right? Not just building wealth, but the friendship, that's a big part of your balance in life in general, right? So anyway, enough on that.
Enough on that.
We can keep going on that all day. The next question, Alex, for you in the final round is, do you have any tips or tricks that you would recommend to someone that is just getting started out today? So we'll put this in the perspective of a CPA. So new CPA, trying to figure out where they're going in life. What would you tell them?
First thing I would say is write down your goals and read them out loud, and read them in the morning, read them at night, and then keep updating those goals. I think the CPA profession is an amazing place to be. I really do. And until they change the foundation of this country, it's a great place to be. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of differentiation involved. You can really become an elite CPA and become extremely valuable to a lot of people that want an elite CPA. So I would just say write down those goals and just do something every day to get to that goal. Just something every day, as opposed to nothing. That's it.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. The final question for the final round, Alex, that I have for you is, do you have a favorite business, investing, or real estate related book or podcast, or both? And we could also keep this on the tax side as well.
Interesting. No, I don't.
No.
Let's just say your podcast, the Average Joe podcast, my favorite podcast. Let's go with that.
I love it. There we go. It's simple. It's that simple.
It is simple.
No. Awesome. All right, Alex. No, I appreciate that. Okay. That was fantastic. Now I have one more question for you. This is not part of the final round. We're done with that. But for people that are listening right now that want to learn more about you and the Due Diligence Project and the Virtual Family Office Hub, where can people find more information about you and those businesses that you have? Do you have a website, social media? I know you mentioned the website a little bit earlier. Anything else like social media like that you could share with us today?
Yeah, we do a lot of work on our LinkedIn. So you can look up Alex Sonkin, Sonkin on LinkedIn, duediligenceproject.com, duediligenceproject.com. You can watch our podcast section on the duediligenceproject.com where we interview some of our members, some of our resources. I think that will give you a lot of information about who we are and how we operate. Yeah, duediligenceproject.com. Virtualfamilyofficehub.com is another place to go. And if you want to see our revolutionary health insurance solution, go to vfohealth.com. It's a very unique opportunity. We've opened up our private captive pool to our members and their select clients, and we're really revolutionizing health insurance using a solution that we found that has been adopted by Amazon, Keller Williams, FedEx, Grant Cardone, and 100 of his companies that he invested in. And then Clifton Larson Allen, one of the largest CPA firms in the country, has been offering this to their best clients for over a decade. So we've been working with this group. We're really proud of this solution. It allows for health insurance participants, if they don't use up their claims, if they don't use up their premiums with their claims, they're going to get a return of premium, which traditional insurance just does not offer. So there's actually a benefit to being healthy, having healthy employees. So vfohealth.com, we're really proud of that. We've offered that is now available to all of our member CPA firms, and they're able to make that available to their clients as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'll make sure all those links are in the show notes for our listeners. And hey, real quick too, for my listeners, if you are listening and you want to go visit those sites, you can copy and paste or click away. Just please don't do it if you're driving right now. But hey, Alex, again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and share and impart your knowledge with us. You've dropped so many golden nuggets and just so much value that you added to me and to my listeners. And again, want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Mike, it was a great chatting with you, great connecting with you. And thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I also want to say thank you to all my listeners for joining me and our special guest, Alex Sonkin, on the Average Joe Finances podcast. Go leave us a 5-star review and tell us what you liked about today's episode with Alex. Aloha from Hawaii and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Greatly appreciate you being here with me today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make this the episode that you go leave us a 5-star rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Average Joe Finances podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Have an outstanding day.